Despite American security guarantees for Ukraine, China gambles everything on a massive ground invasion. August 17, 2025. Beijing commits the unthinkable, deploying over 400 main battle tanks and 28,000 elite troops to the Ukrainian front lines in history's largest Chinese military intervention since the Korean conflict. The overwhelming numerical superiority and advanced firepower obliterated Ukrainian defensive positions, transforming peaceful agricultural regions into apocalyptic battlefields. Ukrainian forces found themselves completely outmatched. Within 4 brutal days, more than 5,200 soldiers were killed or wounded, and entire mechanized battalions simply vanished from radio contact. The western evacuation routes became clogged with terrified families fleeing the unstoppable advance of Chinese armored divisions. Russian military planners observed with satisfaction, believing total victory was finally within their grasp. But then, something occurred that shocked Beijing to its core and reminded the entire world why America remains the undisputed guardian of global stability. In less than 8 days, America's most advanced stealth aircraft, cutting-edge autonomous weapons systems, and heavy armor formations completely reversed the tide of battle, bringing both China and Russia to their knees in devastating defeat. How did American forces achieve such a rapid tactical reversal? And what ominous message does this overwhelming victory send to other nations considering challenges to American resolve? Let's dive deep into this incredible military operation. On August 17, 2025, the European battlefield transformed overnight. Without any diplomatic warning, China launched a full-scale ground invasion into Ukraine to reinforce Russia's faltering offensive campaigns, an operation so enormous it left international military experts speechless. From classified satellite intelligence feeds, U.S. reconnaissance assets identified over 400 Chinese Type 15 light tanks and 380 ZTL-11 wheeled assault vehicles streaming across the Polish border into Ukraine's northwestern theater. At minimum, 28,000 Chinese ground combat troops advanced in precisely coordinated assault formations, supported by 52 PCL-191 long-range multiple rocket launcher systems that immediately began devastating Ukrainian defensive fortifications. In the initial 2 hours, more than 2,800 precision-guided rockets hammered Ukrainian entrenchments west of Lviv, pulverizing concrete bunkers and creating mushroom clouds visible from 15 miles away. Entire communication networks went offline as hardened command centers were targeted by successive bombardments. Ukrainian counter-battery teams attempting to provide return fire found themselves systematically eliminated by swarms of Winglung 2 armed drones that identified and destroyed artillery positions with surgical precision. Footage captured by fleeing civilians revealed scenes of unprecedented destruction. Endless columns of Chinese heavy armor stretching 4 miles in length, advancing down highways reduced to cratered moonscapes. Explosions hurled 60-ton battle tanks through the air, flipping them like children's toys when Ukrainian anti-tank mines found their marks. But for every destroyed vehicle, 8 more continued the relentless advance. By nightfall, Chinese mechanized spearheads had penetrated over 50 miles into Ukrainian territory, smashing through hastily reinforced defensive lines. Ukrainian military radio transmissions intercepted by intelligence services captured desperate situation reports. Cannot maintain positions. Enemy armor penetrating our rear. Repeat, rear positions compromised. Lviv defensive line collapsing. Behind the collapsing front lines, absolute chaos dominated the landscape. Massive streams of Ukrainian civilians packed onto narrow evacuation routes, fleeing eastward under constant threat of cluster bomb attacks. By midnight, reconnaissance drone footage documented entire city districts reduced to smoldering ruins, abandoned vehicles still burning, and refugee convoys scattered by incoming rocket barrages. This represented the largest foreign ground military intervention by China since their involvement in Korea during the 1950s. an unmistakable declaration that Beijing intended to permanently alter the entire European strategic balance. For Ukraine, it represented nothing less than national catastrophe. And for the United States and NATO alliance, it presented a terrifying strategic dilemma. Would they allow this aggression to succeed unchallenged, or would they respond with overwhelming military force? Before we reveal the devastating consequences that followed, make sure to smash that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to never miss our latest in-depth military analysis content. Your support enables us to continue delivering the most comprehensive breakdowns of modern warfare tactics and strategies. In only 4 devastating days, Ukraine suffered losses that would cripple most nations. As Chinese armored battalions surged across international borders, Ukrainian defensive capabilities simply disintegrated under the assault. The casualty statistics were absolutely horrific. Over 200 Ukrainian armored fighting vehicles destroyed, ranging from T-84 main battle tanks to modernized BMP-3 infantry fighting vehicles. Alongside these losses, more than 80 self-propelled artillery systems were eliminated, leaving entire brigade combat teams without crucial fire support capabilities. Human casualties escalated at a catastrophic rate. Intelligence reports confirmed at least 5,200 Ukrainian soldiers killed or wounded during the opening 96 hours. Complete frontline companies were annihilated by precision rocket bombardments and persistent Chinese drone swarms that identified targets with terrifying efficiency and accuracy. Ukraine's integrated air defense systems collapsed under relentless pressure. Chinese Wing-Lung 2 reconnaissance drones conducted round-the-clock surveillance operations, continuously feeding targeting data to rocket artillery batteries that unleashed over 3,200 rockets during just the first 3 days of operations. Critical radar installations went dark permanently, creating massive surveillance gaps that allowed Chinese special operations teams to penetrate even deeper into Ukrainian territory. Military supply networks disintegrated rapidly. Ukrainian fuel transport convoys were repeatedly ambushed or obliterated by drone-directed artillery strikes, forcing tank crews to abandon operational vehicles due to fuel shortages. Ammunition reserves dwindled to critical levels. Brigade command posts lost all communication with forward operating units, many of which were completely overrun without managing to return effective fire. Meanwhile, civilian populations evacuated the western regions in unprecedented numbers. By the conclusion of Day 4, hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians had fled their homes, overwhelming highways with dangerously overloaded civilian vehicles. Local law enforcement agencies struggled desperately to maintain public order as panic-stricken families raced toward eastern evacuation zones, most abandoning homes already damaged by artillery shrapnel and incendiary fires. Within 96 hours, Ukraine's western defensive positions lay in complete ruins. The devastating combination of persistent drone surveillance, intensive rocket saturation bombardment, and rapid advancing Chinese armored formations had shattered their defensive lines beyond repair. Ukrainian military commanders realized they could not sustain resistance independently. Without immediate international assistance, China and Russia together would advance to the Dnieper River, potentially resulting in Ukraine losing 2/3 of its sovereign territory within mere weeks. Facing imminent total collapse across the Western Front, Ukraine's president made the decision he had desperately hoped to avoid. Late on August 21st, he placed an emergency call directly to the White House, urgently requesting immediate large-scale military intervention. The message delivered was brutally direct. Without substantial U.S. assistance, Ukraine faced losing most of its territory within days. In Washington, emergency protocols activated immediately. That same night, the U.S. National Security Council convened an unprecedented crisis session. Senior intelligence officers presented the stark reality. Chinese forces had advanced over 50 miles in 4 days. Ukrainian brigade combat teams were shattered beyond repair, and Russia was preparing to exploit the chaos by launching massive assaults toward Kiev. America's top military commanders warned that if the United States remained passive, China's intervention would establish a dangerous precedent, where other adversaries could redraw international borders through military force, knowing America might hesitate to respond decisively. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs stated the situation plainly. This transcends Ukraine. The entire world is watching to determine if America still maintains its commitment to international stability. Within 6 hours, the president authorized comprehensive direct military intervention orders. Unlike NATO's bureaucratic decision-making processes, this represented a purely American strategic response. C-17 strategic transport aircraft were immediately loaded with advanced anti-armor weapon systems, autonomous combat drones, and emergency medical supplies. Tank crews and mechanized infantry units received deployment orders. F-35 Lightning II and F-22 Raptor squadrons stationed across Europe were discreetly alerted to prepare for immediate combat operations over Ukrainian airspace. The strategic message was unmistakable. The United States would absolutely not permit China to dictate Europe's future through military aggression. As deployment orders were finalized, military planners calculated that American air power could commence combat operations within 48 hours. Ukraine would not face this crisis alone, and Beijing was about to discover the true meaning of provoking the world's most technologically advanced military force. Don't forget to drop a like on this video if you're fascinated by America's rapid deployment capabilities. And let us know in the comments which aspect of modern military technology you'd like us to analyze next. August 23, 2025, shortly after sunrise, Ukrainian skies filled with distinctive contrails and the powerful rumble of advanced jet engines, signaling a dramatic transformation in the conflict's trajectory. The United States had arrived in force, and they weren't approaching with caution. Within hours, a comprehensive American combat package swept into Ukraine's embattled western territories. The operation commenced with 42 U.S. stealth fighters, F-35 Lightning IIs and F-22 Raptors, launching coordinated CAD missions, suppression of enemy air defenses, operating at altitudes where radar signatures disappear into background noise. These aircraft utilized advanced AN/APG-81 radar systems and revolutionary sensor fusion technology to locate Chinese mobile surface-to-air missile systems before they could activate tracking arrays. Within minutes, AGM-88G advanced anti-radiation missiles streaked across the battlefield, homing precisely on electronic emissions and silencing radar installations with devastating explosions. Following the initial wave, MQ-9 Reaper drones penetrated through the cleared corridors, maintaining patrol altitude at 27,000 feet while scanning with advanced infrared targeting pods. Their mission parameters were straightforward: locate and eliminate Chinese artillery positions. Once identified, AGM-1114R9X Hellfire missiles descended from above, striking PCL-191 rocket launcher systems before they could reload for subsequent bombardments. Next came America's heavy armor deployment. Multiple C-17 Globemaster III transports landed at hastily prepared Ukrainian airfields, offloading M1A2C Abrams main battle tanks and MU-296 Stryker Dragoon infantry fighting vehicles. Unlike previous generation systems, the M1A2C incorporates upgraded third-generation thermal imaging sights and digital fire control computers, enabling engagement of multiple moving targets simultaneously, even through dense smoke or during night operations. Within hours, American armored columns were advancing westward, establishing contact with surviving Ukrainian brigade elements. Accompanying these formations, infantry teams distributed cases of FGM-148, Javelin and FGM-172 SRA anti-tank guided missiles, shoulder-fired systems featuring fire-and-forget guidance technology. These weapons systems proved absolutely devastating in combat. Once launched, missiles climbed to optimal altitude before diving almost vertically, striking vulnerable top armor with near-guaranteed target elimination. During just the first 8 hours of operations, Javelin teams reportedly destroyed over 60 Chinese main battle tanks, leaving burning wreckage scattered across agricultural fields. Above this intense ground combat, American air supremacy continued its methodical destruction. F-35 pilots utilized their distributed aperture system to track heat signatures from dozens of miles away, enabling seamless target handoff to ground commanders through advanced data linking systems. Radio communications intercepted from Chinese battalion networks revealed widespread panic as units reported engagement by invisible adversaries. One Chinese battalion commander transmitted frantically, "Cannot acquire visual contact. Missiles striking from unknown positions." By mid-afternoon, entire Chinese mechanized columns began stalling their advance. Abrams tank crews exploited this tactical pause, executing flanking maneuvers that devastated retreating convoys. Reaper drones maintained overhead patrol, methodically eliminating fleeing transport vehicles with precision hellfire strikes. During an 8-hour engagement period, the combined U.S.-Ukrainian effort eliminated approximately 240 Chinese armored vehicles and support trucks, completely destroying the core of Beijing's intervention force. The technological superiority was undeniable. Chinese forces, despite being well-trained and confident just days earlier, proved completely unprepared for the level of battlefield integration America demonstrated. Satellite communication links provided real-time intelligence to ground squads. Tank commanders received live drone reconnaissance feeds on ruggedized tablet displays, and stealth aircraft hunted air defense systems, while remaining completely invisible to conventional radar arrays. The outcome was systematic annihilation. By nightfall, thermal imaging revealed a devastated landscape. Hundreds of burning military vehicles, scattered casualties, and Chinese soldiers surrendering in small, demoralized groups. The highway to Lviv, previously under imminent occupation threat, now ran completely clear, marked only by smoldering wreckage and the debris of a catastrophically overambitious military gamble. For China, it represented a lesson delivered through steel and fire. For Ukraine, it provided the first genuine hope during a week of absolute horror. And for America, it demonstrated unmistakably that even in the contemporary era, no rival nation could match its capability to dominate any battlefield at will. Make sure to subscribe to Missile Mind for more detailed military analysis content, and share your thoughts in the comments about America's power projection capabilities. By August 25th, the magnitude of China's strategic failure was absolutely undeniable. What Beijing had envisioned as a swift operation to decisively shift the war in Russia's favor had transformed into a comprehensive strategic disaster. The remnants of China's expeditionary force, what survived of 28,000 troops and over 400 armored vehicles, retreated in complete disarray. Most units never successfully withdrew. Satellite reconnaissance imagery documented smoldering convoy columns abandoned along routes leading into Poland, littered with destroyed tanks, shattered armored personnel carriers, and discarded military equipment. Forced to withdraw under constant drone surveillance and persistent Javelin missile ambushes, Chinese units abandoned over 220 destroyed armored vehicles during just the final 36 hours. Recovery teams deployed later discovered scenes of absolute chaos, hastily abandoned field medical stations, rows of incinerated supply vehicles, and casualties hurriedly buried or simply left behind. China's political leadership now confronted the humiliation of returning home virtually empty-handed, having sacrificed thousands of personnel and billions of dollars in modern military equipment for zero strategic gain. International reaction was immediate and profound. Major capitals across Europe and Asia conducted emergency diplomatic consultations. Even nations traditionally skeptical of American power quietly acknowledged one fundamental reality: America had once again demonstrated why it remained the global guarantor of international security. With its unmatched integration of stealth air power, armored striking capability, and precision-guided weapon systems, the United States proved it could still dismantle peer military forces in days rather than months. For Ukraine, the relief was overwhelming and immediate. Western defensive positions stabilized almost instantly following American military intervention. Ukrainian soldiers who days earlier faced complete encirclement and potential annihilation began cautiously advancing forward, reclaiming towns littered with destroyed Chinese armor. Civilian populations emerged from hiding shelters, displaying damaged Ukrainian flags alongside newly arrived U.S. military units. In Washington, the president addressed the nation with measured authority, declaring, "The United States does not actively seek military conflict, but let our position be absolutely clear. No power will redraw international borders through force while America maintains its global watch." For China, the campaign represented an extremely costly education. For Russia, it provided a chilling reminder that even with powerful military allies, challenging Western resolve could bring absolutely devastating consequences. And for the international community, it reaffirmed an enduring truth. When America decides to act decisively, it fundamentally changes the trajectory of conflicts and reminds every potential aggressor exactly who maintains the global balance of power. In less than 3 weeks, a conflict that threatened to completely unravel Europe's entire security architecture was decisively resolved through the direct application of American military power. What began on August 17th as a calculated Chinese gamble, pouring tens of thousands of troops and hundreds of tanks into Ukraine to tip the strategic balance toward Moscow, concluded as a grim cautionary tale broadcast to every capital worldwide. The cost to China was absolutely staggering. They entered Ukraine with supreme confidence and departed with nothing more than wreckage and countless casualties. Russia, observing from behind crumbling front lines, was forced to reconsider the value of military alliances that could not withstand America's rapid, technology-driven assault capabilities. For Ukraine, the strategic tide finally shifted decisively in their favor. American intervention didn't merely halt the collapse, it completely shattered the invading forces, providing crucial breathing space to rebuild defensive positions and restore devastated morale among military units. Beyond the immediate battlefield implications, these weeks carried lessons with global significance. In a world transitioning toward multipolar ambitions where emerging powers test established boundaries, the United States demonstrated it still possesses something absolutely unmatched: the capability to project overwhelming military force with speed, precision, and coordination no rival can currently replicate. As villagers returned to homes scarred by drone strikes and tank battles, Ukrainian children displayed both their national flags and American banners, a silent testament to the partnership that preserved their communities from destruction. In Washington and allied capitals, the strategic message was equally unmistakable. Despite economic pressures, political divisions, and shifting global dynamics, the United States remains the foundational anchor that prevents international chaos from spreading unchecked. From the devastated highways of Western Ukraine to the marble corridors of global diplomacy, this brief but brutal campaign served as a powerful reminder. When America acts with determination, the world takes notice, and aggressors, regardless of their boldness, are forced to calculate the true cost of their ambitions. This blatant military action by China represented nothing less than an open challenge to America's global leadership position. What's your assessment? Was Beijing testing Washington's resolve, or did they simply underestimate American military capabilities? Share your analysis in the comments section, and don't forget to subscribe for our next deep dive military analysis.